All right. Hey, welcome everybody to Parenting the Clay Way. I'm glad to see you once again. Again, this is a show that really is supposed to share some good, fun stories and share some tips about parenting that I've learned over the years with my three boys, aged 4, 6, and 8. And Travis McCabe from Green Bean Coffee joins me as well. Travis has teenage boys.
I do.
And remind us the ages again.
Absolutely. I have a 14, I have a 15, and I have now a 20-year-old. But the 14 and 15 are getting ready to turn 15 and 16 here soon. So,
Yeah.
you know.
And do you see a difference between the boys in terms of when that's a pretty close age gap?
Sure.
Are they really similar in things, or are you really seeing differences?
You know what? I mean, us being a blended family, we're very blessed because all the kids get along great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our two younger ones are 15 and 16-year-old, or will be 15 and 16. They get along great. You know, but now our 20-year-old, he gets along great with them, but he's now at that independent stage where he's a man. You know,
Yeah.
he can comes and goes as he pleases. You know, he does this, he does that. But you know, there's differences, but we have to give him that independence. You know, he's
Right.
a man now. You know,
Right.
and our teenagers, they're starting to come into that themselves.
I find that that's one of the number one tips that I'm exploring right now is making sure each child gets individual time and is treated as an individual. I think too often what I've found is that because there's three of them, it's a bit of a handful, and so you tend to group them together and then parent them as a group
Yeah.
because it's just logistically the best way. It feels like that's the only thing I can do. But what is so much more effective is to deal with them on individual basis, address them individually, hug them individually in a sense that we're making that connection, and then they're willing to connect with you individually as opposed to being a circus.
Right.
You know, that
No,
kind
I
of
agree.
thing.
I agree. You know, but on the opposite end of that coin, I also like to do that big group hug. You know, it's like, oh, you guys, you know, even if
Right.
it's just a fun, whimsical time, whatnot, you bring them in, do a group hug, they hug, you know, you're just laughing and carrying on. Even though you might be just joking, it's just those little moments where they're like, oh,
Right.
and they're, you know, showing love to one another.
Yeah.
You know, and that's awesome.
I think that's perfect. I have really started from an early point of getting them bonded together, and one of the things I have little mantras that I share with them, and one is "Clay boys stick together," and I want them to always remember that,
Sure.
and I bring that up back, and I post that when I do sometimes everything. And this brings us into a great topic that Carol Reichard mentioned that we maybe want to touch on, and so we invite you to let us know what topics that you might be interested in us covering. And she said we should talk about bullying. So we both have some strategies and things and experiences with that. Tell me a little bit about first off, how have you had to deal, or let's say how have you tried to prevent bullying first? Is there things that you've done to maybe hopefully avoid that with your boys?
You know what? You know, bullying always starts at home. You know, I think, you know, your children are, you know, they kind of learn from home. You know, so, you know, having older brothers, we'll take our youngest for a second. Having older brothers, yeah, at times he's bullied and whatnot, you know, so he'll get picked on and whatnot. But being able to defend yourself, you know, stand up for yourself, you know, not necessarily start a fight or start throwing punches, but, you know, stand up for yourself. You know, you are an individual, support yourself, you know, don't allow someone to pick on you or whatnot, you know, but in the same way, fists don't always need to be thrown. You know, there's always another way out. You know, and sometimes it's the brave choice to just be like, you know what, I'm done with this, and turn and walk away.
Yeah.
You know, and if it continues to be elevated, then you handle accordingly that you feel you need to. You know, and know at the end of the day that whatever your choice is, you know, as a parent, I have your back. You know, I'll support you in whatever decision you made. You know, and if I feel it was the wrong choice, we'll deal with that at home.
Right,
You know,
right.
and then we'll talk about and discuss what other choices you may or may not have had.
Yeah.
You know, but I think at home everything starts there.
I agree. I think first off, as a parent, I really want to watch how I treat the boys, and if I'm overly dominating, if I'm really just basically trying to push them into doing something. Now, I have chosen not to be physical. I don't end up. It's not that I'm against spanking, and I have spanked, and I would continue to spank because they know when they've reached that level. However, I don't believe that if they're being abusive to each other, I shouldn't punish them by being abusive to them. That doesn't send any kind of a good message. So I have to come up with other ways to teach other than that. And I think once you get into that anger level, and once you get into the level of using physical punishment, you've probably lost. You're only trying to salvage something, but you should have chosen another way long ago. So I think that whole idea, what I found, the thing first off of, they're going to learn from me. I find that whatever I tend to do, they copy. My oldest tends to mimic me, and that's how he treats the boys. So I need to be by far the best example possible. And again, what I find is them rather than them trying to fix a situation with physical, like pushing, kicking. It's not a full-blown fight, but it is physical choices. And I'm saying, look, before you get to that level, let's talk about it. And if you can't resolve it just by figuring out another way, distraction or whatever, then come talk to me. And just come talk to an adult. I've got to set that straight first at home, like you say, before if I think I want it to work at school, which would be you worry about what might happen in the playground.
Right, absolutely. And unfortunately things do happen at school. As much as your kids or my kids may want to walk away or try to find a different path, not everyone, even adults don't always agree with that. So they prefer to be the one who's like, hey, let's pull up your dukes. We're gonna solve this one way or another. And the thing is, I think when it gets to that point, it's so emotion. We react so much on emotion, and all clear thoughts and options are gone. Because you are upset, you're angry. And that's such a strong, powerful emotion, and an overpowering one. It's how we react instantly. So any other options that you have maybe had and decided on is now out the window because this is the situation you're now in because of somebody's pure raw emotions. So what can you do except really defend yourself?
The other comment I wanted to make is that these days, if let's say for example, which I believe, there's a lot less kids going out and playing kick the can these days, right, running around, gathering, new kids coming and going and everything. That's where you start to learn how to be social with strangers and with bigger kids and with potentially with bullies. You learn how that dynamic works early on if you're mixing it up with other kids out there. And if you're in your home all the time playing video games, you're not going to have those skills to that then carry you into later years and teenage years. So I think that's one thing that really, if you have the ability to get the kids out, the earlier they learn those lessons and talk with you about them, they're now armed with those skills later. It's a shame if kids aren't getting that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, being social is huge. Like you said, not kick the can. I know whenever I was younger, I had children who were younger than me that I played with, up to kids that are older than me that, I had done things with. And we always worked and collaborated on different things. And I don't want to say a hierarchy form, but it was. You kind of knew your place with your friends, who you could rely on, this, but you also knew your boundaries, and just getting out and being social helps establish those. And, that's taken you up through life, And it is very important to get out there, put down the phones, put down the TV, go outside and play, have some friends, and especially if you live in a neighborhood where you see kids, go out and introduce yourself,
Absolutely.
and learn to be social. Because I think in today's day and age, we are like meeting so many friends and stuff online. Like, I got 150 friends online. How many do you know? Well, I know one out of 150. They're social friends, not outside your norm friends.
I took the boys to the Penn State whiteout, not whiteout, I mean the blue-white game.
Sure.
And there was a noticeable difference of what they were doing versus what I saw some other kids doing. The other kids, I saw a lot of other kids that were basically still on their tablets. And here we are in a parking lot with music, having fun, dancing, and enjoying a lot of social interaction. But a lot of kids were choosing to play video games in a vehicle, rather than interact with this party. And that was noticeable that my kids don't do that, and that was made me feel great because they were interacting with other kids and the adults and that kind of thing. So that was one thing. And to bring it back to of this whole idea of bullying, a lot of people now having to experience bullying online. So now if a child, if their whole universe is Facebook and Instagram,
Right.
well, then they're going to be so susceptible to that kind of bullying. And where do they go to get away from it? Well, they're attached. They could be kind of attacked at any time
Right.
because they're glued to this thing. Rather than just get out and avoid the kid, it's harder to avoid somebody bullying. Maybe, I don't know, you can block them, I suppose, but it feels very awkward to not be able to, to
Unplug.
avoid somebody. And so, what are your thoughts on how prevalent bullying is online? We hear a lot about it with a lot of high school kids.
We do, and it's and it's sad to say that bullying online is even in existence because you're talking about sometimes someone who you've never had physical contact with, who is saying terrible things or rallying a bunch of other people online against you, where the simple fact of the matter is like you can literally just get up and walk away and go into your kitchen and be done with it.
Yeah.
But we've become so engrossed with everything
Yeah.
online, and this has become our life. And kids in high school, it becomes your life where they take it personal, and sometimes to a point where depression sets in, or even goes higher.
Yeah.
Because so and so in California doesn't like me anymore.
Right.
I'm sorry, do
Who?
you?
Yeah.
But I get that you get those relationships, and I get, that emotions are tied because once again, emotions are extremely very powerful, and you get those online because you do develop friendships, via text or just chat or whatnot, and the ability to get up and walk away though is there. But it's a fine line still when you get into that social media aspect. Whenever it's someone from your school that you are social with at school and at home, and you're chatting constantly and whatnot, because you do have a face to go with it. You do have a relationship with that person, and if bullying at school and online became prevalent, that's where you as a parent have to get involved and hope that you have that relationship with your child, that they feel comfortable enough to be like, hey, this is at school, I'm getting picked out online, what are you going to do, Dad?
Right.
Well, this is going outside my realm. What are we going to do?
And ultimately, you make such a great point in that we have to remember it's parenting. You have to be involved in order. They can't figure it out for themselves. And so, I'm a big proponent of knowing exactly what is going on in my child's life, and be it whether it's actual or virtual, reality or virtual in terms of exactly what are they online, who's interacting with them. And so if you wait too long, people say, well, I had no idea they were being bullied. That could have been going on for months or years. And so I think that it's so important for a parent to be able to be snoopy and know and have a relationship to go, what's going on? Who are your friends? And just asking those questions early and often, so that they don't become some wall later on that now you're not allowed to go there because, well, you never did.
Right. But in the same line, and this is that double-edged sword. It's like we want to know what's going on in our kids' life. We want to take part of everything that's going on. We want to know who they're socializing with, but we want them to be independent.
Yeah.
So it's this fine line we're constantly walking on, where it's like, I trust you enough to make the right decisions, and trust in myself to know that I've taught you to make the right decision. But
But who is that, and what is that?
So it is. It's a very fine line, and and I think as a parent, that's something we do struggle with. Or our children will come back and be like, "I got this," and have enough faith in them to know, okay, I know you got this, but let you know if you do need help. I'm here. And if it starts getting to a point where you're starting to feel uncomfortable, or you feel like you don't got this, come to me. And just have faith in them as well. So it is. It's a balancing act. It really is.
All right. Well, we're going to leave it on that. Certainly always a balancing act, being a parent, no question. Travis McCabe from Green Bean Coffee, thanks for coming in.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
It's been great to be with you, share some more parenting tips, and we'll have much more next time on Parenting the Clay Way. We'll see you then. Thanks.